Hello and welcome to ATTD TV 2022, coming to you live from the ATTD exhibition here at the beautiful city of Barcelona. The exhibition is still closed. It will be opening at 6:30. That's why now it's pretty quiet, but it will be more crowded in the following days. My name is Elena Bayón, and in the next 4 days, between breaks from the scientific program, I'll be here with many distinguished guests to expand your horizon, learn some more about the ATTD community and its key figures, help you get to know the speakers, the path that led them to where they are today, and of course the latest articles and the most updated information in the field of advanced technologies and treatments for diabetes. In today's show, we'll have a broad look at what's coming up at ATTD 2022. We will also host the co-chair of the ATTD community, Professor Tadej Battelino. We will get ready for the opening ceremony that starts in about an hour. Tonight's opening speaker, Professor Stefano Del Prato, will be here at the studio talking about his lecture, From Discovery of Insulin to the Era of Diabetes Treatment, and a lot more. Stay tuned. So what's coming up at ATTD 2022? A lot of information, a lot. So buckle up, here we go. 95 sessions. Some of them have already begun, mainly industrial. Plenary sessions, oral presentations, industry symposiums, award-winning tech fair presenters, the ATTD Run, so prepare your trainers, celebrating 100 years of insulin and mentioning the 15 years anniversary for the ATTD community. So we are in for an exciting few days here in Barcelona. And of course, for those of you who can't join physically, all will be broadcasted to the platform, and we will try to give you the best experience so you will barely notice you are not here with us. Every day we will have a short review of what's coming up that day. Today's program is almost finished. As mentioned, the opening ceremony will begin at 6 p.m., followed by a networking reception right behind me at the exhibition area. Tomorrow morning starts with back-to-back plenary sessions. At 8 a.m., Prevention and Cure of Type 1 Diabetes, Jay Schuyler and Chantal Mathieu will host Desmond Schatz. At 9 a.m., Artificial Intelligence and Personalized Medicine in Diabetes Care, Thomas Dan and Mark Clemens will host Lori Lafell, followed by our morning studio session in which we will elaborate on those issues and much more. On Friday, we will have the yearbook session, the book to read to know all the latest information in the field. We will prepare for it properly here at the studio and elaborate with some of the respectable speakers who got to be part of 2021's yearbook. So after this long presentation, I think we can start. It's time to say hello and good afternoon to the co-chair, Professor Tadej Battelino. Hello and thank you for joining me, Professor.
Hello, good afternoon. Hello to everybody listening to us. Thank you very much for joining.
We're so happy to have you here. So what is it like to have an in-person conference again?
I think it's an important question for all of us. We are social beings, at least this is how I see, and we prefer to meet than just to, communicate over screens. And I think this became obvious in the last good 2 years. Initially, we thought it's amazing we can do it over, the webcasting and everything. And we were perhaps even impressed by all the technology that evolved so quickly. But then, of course, it became probably more and more distant to us, and also communicating with people with diabetes or, with individuals with other diseases via this virtual clinics actually showed that it's not the same. So obviously part of our communication can be, replaced from face-to-face to a web or whatever communication. But then I think, human beings in the last 100,000 years actually enjoyed seeing each other and communicating. And, in some environments like our Mediterranean region, we even hug and kiss people. And this is extremely difficult to do virtually. So I think it's a big return into normal life, or near normal life, I should say. And we are extremely happy that this could happen at this ATTD meeting in Barcelona.
We are back. We are back. So can you tell us a little bit more about the difficulties of organizing this large-scale event in these times after the pandemic and after we are not really used to go to events like this?
Right. So, those that were following the progress of the meeting know that we moved it twice. So this is the third location this year. And the biggest trouble is uncertainty. So you can't really say, what will happen, and will, all this be over and we'll finally meet, or then perhaps we'll still have to cancel it. So the uncertainty probably of our planning that we are doing was likely the most difficult part. But then, as the ancient Romans said, that, luck is on the side of the brave. So we finally decided to have a face-to-face meeting here in Barcelona, whatever it takes. And we were lucky. We were lucky that, as everywhere in Europe, the pandemic actually really went down and near normal relations were able. So we are extremely happy that, as far as I understand, more than 4,000 people registered for this meeting, and that a good 2/3 are here live. It's a hybrid meeting, obviously, because not everybody can travel, particularly not our colleagues from Far East, from Asia regions. They still have a lot of troubles with this pandemic. But then the rest, those that could, came. And I think this is a very, very good news.
They were really looking forward to come. I'm sure about it. So I know it is like asking a parent which child he loves more, but we want to know, what session do you look forward the most?
It's an interesting question. The ATTD meeting formed by Professor Moshe Philippe, who should be with us here and is chairing a session, so couldn't join us for this initial interview, and myself, was to bring together all stakeholders that work in diabetes. And this is importantly not just physicians or healthcare professional teams, but it's all those engineers and chemists and pharmacists that develop new medicines and new technology. And then all the system that does the trials to verify those. And then, of course, the regulators that say yes or no to a certain new medication or technology. And then, of course, the companies that would then distribute this, and the reimbursement systems, particularly in the European Union, when we have public reimbursement systems. So there are certain rules on how to, make all those, let's say, good things available to people with diabetes. And finally, people with diabetes, because it is a disease that's mostly self-managed, or at least this is how we see it. So they have to decide whether something we offer them is acceptable. And people are, I'm very happy to say, different. We are not all alike. So what is good for someone isn't good for another one. So they should really have options to choose from, and then, decide which one actually really helps them. And only with, putting all these stakeholders together, actually, you can have a quick transition from what is just discovered actually to be regularly used in day-to-day clinical practice. So with this vision, of course, over the last 15 years, there were different topics that were like the most loved child at each meeting. And if it started with the closed-loop systems, which were at that time non-existent, and most people believed they were impossible, and are now a very functioning reality for many with type 1 diabetes. Now we move to very potent medications for type 2 diabetes. And then we joined them with good technology so that we know when the indication actually starts for those very potent drugs. And finally, offer people, particularly for a multifaceted disease like diabetes, with troubles in blood pressure, troubles in lipids, a virtual cloud care, actually, so that would integrate all their needs and would also connect them to the healthcare teams, but also to other stakeholders in diabetes. And, finally, basically, it's one lecture or one session that we like from the very beginning and never stopped loving it. And this is our yearbook, when different distinguished professors from universities around the world review existing literature and select this part of the literature that's likely best for a certain topic and briefly present them. So, that many people can then, screen what's new and important in all fields of diabetes, because the literature in diabetes goes, into thousands or tens of thousands per year. So it's a hand-picked selection of the, let's say, scientific or professional information that's digested for the reader. And this is also briefly presented in this yearbook session, which is very close to the hearts of Moshe Philippe and myself.
Okay, so you like that better. We are actually celebrating 15 years to ATTD. How did it start?
Well, humbly, as most things start humbly. So it was a meeting in Prague. I like to remember it very much. I think around 750 people arrived. And those were the biggest enthusiasts at that time, for moving the use of technology and particularly closed loop in diabetes further. So it was a very warm meeting of a smaller group of enthusiasts that, wanted to change something. And then it started to grow, because many people joined. What's nice with ATTD is that all people that register actually are here. So you will see that the audience here in presence will plus minus match all the registered people. Despite the beauties of Barcelona, they still, primarily come to attend the meeting. And then, of course, they extend the stay and see these beauties here without question. But then they do stay at the meeting and participate and give ideas and everything. So it's in the interaction. So not only just, being here and listening to whoever, but participating, spreading ideas. We have this technology fair where startup companies can present, can meet with CEOs of large international corporations that are all here. So it's this mix of information, the sharing of information on different levels, actually, that made ATTD grow in attendance and importance.
So, Professor, what do you think is the next big challenge in diabetes to overcome in the next years?
Well, diabetes actually may have many deficiencies, but not in challenges. So there are several. Obviously, in type 1 diabetes, we are in for the cure. It sounds like futuristic, or perhaps that I'm a little bit out of my mind, but I do believe in it. And they are first signs that perhaps we do have immunointerventions that will at least a little bit postpone or protract the disease onset, which I think is a very good news. And then in type 2 diabetes, obviously, we recently have potent drugs. We need to use them. We need to give them to people on time, so soon enough, and actually to be effective. And obviously, we need more evidence that, we can help additionally with technology and with novel approaches. So there are really good challenges that I think if we come closer to the solutions for these challenges, we can really help people with diabetes, and we work together with them, actually, for these solutions.
So what is that makes ATTD unique?
The people that come. There is no question. The participants that help us and that support us and basically gives us ideas and makes everything we do valuable. And this includes colleagues, this includes educators, dietitians, and people with diabetes are also here.
Okay. I really appreciate that answer. That's amazing. Thank you so much, Professor Tadej Battelino, for being with us today.
Thank you very much, and thank all the listeners.
It was an amazing conversation. Have a wonderful conference. I'm sure it's going to be amazing. Thank you for joining us. So our next guest is tonight's opening ceremony keynote speakers, Professor Stefano Del Prato. We can see he's coming here. Goodbye, Tadej. Hello.
Hello.
Stefano. nice to meet you.
Pleasure.
So, Stefano is a professor of endocrinology and metabolism at the School of Medicine and chief of the section of diabetes at the University of Pisa in Italy. Professor Del Prato is the current president of the European Association for the Study of Diabetes. Hello, Professor. It's an honor to have you here, of course.
It is my honor to be here.
So I guess it's been a while since you last attended in person to a conference. How does it feel? Are you excited?
It's a strange and a mixed feeling, if you think, because we're so eager to meet people, but in the meantime, we're looking around, feel a bit out of place to some extent, but it takes, just a little moment to move into the best mood and start shaking hands to the people, start talking to them. It's an incredible change, to go from a two-dimension world, as it has been for 2 years, finally back to the three-dimension world and to see people in real. It's amazing. It's just amazing.
So you're looking forward for the next following days, I guess.
Yeah, that's for sure.
In a few words, what can you tell us about your coming up lecture at the opening ceremony? Not spoilers, but a little bit.
First of all, let me tell you, it's a great honor, because it is the restart for the on-site meeting. So I'm given the honor to open up this meeting. It's really incredible. So I'm just looking for that. Hopefully, I'm not going to disappoint people with my lecture. But what I would like to do, and what I thought it was probably needed to be done, is to start again from what has been an historical moment in the history of diabetes, but I would say in the entire medicine, which has been the discovery of insulin. The discovery of insulin is something that really has changed the life and the expectation of millions of people. And it's not just the people at that time when insulin was made available, but you have to think to the people that have come after that time that fortunately had the possibility to see their diabetes treated to the extent that they could live a much more normal life and a much longer and better life. So I think that was the starting point. And what I will try to convey in my discussion is that was as a momentum, really. It was something that changed the way we have been looking at the people with the diabetes and what could be done for the people with diabetes. And I think it was also sort of a key, opening up a new world. And actually, it's interesting because insulin, when you speak with the lay people, sometimes is explained as the necessary key to open the cells to allow the fuel, the glucose, to enter the cell and to energize the cell. So after 100 years, I think it's the time for a new door to be open. And that is the new era for the treatment of diabetes. Something has been already mentioned a moment ago by my friend Tadej, is the expectation of being able to cure type 1 diabetes. Even more, I think, to prevent diabetes. There are now some notions, some information, some knowledge, some background that make this possible, at least conceptually. The other thing, already something that Professor Battelino was alluding to, is the need to be able to comply with every individual needs. Everyone is different. No one is alike the other. So, and this is true also in terms of treating diabetes. So we need to take the next step forward, which is precision medicine in diabetes. And precision medicine means be able to identify the best treatment and the best time for treatment. And for best treatment, I'm also referring to the most efficacious one, but also the safest one. So I think that is the big challenges. And I think this after 100 years of an incredible experience with insulin, we need to open up a new door and just to move into the new era for the treatment of diabetes.
So you love the field, but what made you focus on this specific issue?
Maybe I'm focusing on these specific issues because I've been in the field for quite a long time. So for me now it's time to reflect, what has been for the past 40 years of my careers, and what could be, and what maybe I'll be missing, because, things are really galloping up, and they are really moving fast, and I think there will be major changes in the way we do treat people with diabetes, and I think that we really have an incredible opportunities. Although we have to face also another big problem, because we also need to make sure that we can disseminate and we can reach out all the people with the diabetes. I mentioned to you before that I wanted to start my lecture just going back to the discovery of insulin. You probably don't know that insulin was discovered and the patent of insulin was sold for $1 Canadian. One.
Oh, wow.
And that was because the investigators who discovered insulin, Banting and Best, wanted insulin to be for every person with diabetes. Now, 100 years after that decision, unfortunately, not all the people with diabetes in the world yet have this opportunity. So I think that if we want to pay a tribute to this incredible discovery, we should be able at least to fill up this gap. Okay.
Exactly.
So and that's why I'm sort of thinking, what could be the future, but in the meantime, not forgetting what has been the past.
Okay, and about the sessions we are going to enjoy during these days, is there a certain one that you are looking forward to?
A certain what?
A session.
Session. Oh, it's plenty. That is the difficult part when you come to these congresses here, because there are so many things going on. Some of them, they are in parallel, so it's difficult to decide where to go. But I think that there are fantastic sessions. I mentioned that I'm going to allude in my presentation, in my lecture about, prevention or curing type 1 diabetes. Tomorrow there will be a session dedicated to that. I mentioned, for instance, the need for personalization, but personalization means also to be able to bring together and to analyze tons of data, which is, how we are made, our biology, but also how we do interact with the environment. And we need to integrate, and that's artificial intelligence. And I think that those are the things, and this is our session here dedicated to that. So those are sessions that I will really be very eager to listen to.
So ATTD is celebrating now 15 years. So how important is the progress of science, the progress of technology in this field?
The technology, it's an incredible advance. Although it's interesting, isn't it? This is a Congress dedicated to the technology. We had this fantastic technology that allowed us to survive scientifically for 2 years of the COVID pandemic, but then we got a little bit fed up with the technology. But I think it's a way we use the technology, and to use the technology at the right time. And I think that for diabetes, the technology is incredibly advancing. And it's not just the technology related to devices or way to measure maybe glucose or a way to collect and to transmit those information or to elaborate those information, but think about the technology in the lab that is improving dramatically our ability to make the diagnosis and to make the individual diagnosis. Think about the technology required in order to integrate all this data. It's an incredible. You can feel the things moving on, like all these things, mechanisms, grinding down, things. It's just amazing. But the technology is going to be fundamental, and you have already daily information about how the technology is related even to diabetes. I'm sure you know that you, as I do, have a smartphone.
We all do.
Right? But that smartphone is collecting all the information about, how much I'm sitting, how much I'm working, what I like to buy, and so on and so forth. And those are also information that could be very useful for us to design specific strategies for individuals. So I think that technology is going to really make a major change in the way we diagnose, treat, and follow people with diabetes.
Okay, so we'll see. Everything is going to continue evolving. So it's amazing what you are doing. I really appreciate that you have been here with us today.
Oh.
And we look forward to your lecture.
Thank you very
At the
much.
opening ceremony. Thank you so much for being at the studio, and enjoy the rest of the days at ATTD.
And good work to you. I mean, good luck for your
I'll
for
be
your job.
here. I'll be here as well.
Yeah, I know. And you'll be very, very important to disseminate the many information and new information that will be made available at this Congress.
Yeah, I look forward to see all of those sessions and advances. Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Professor Stefano. So we are approaching now the end of the first ATTD TV 2022 studio session. Before saying goodbye, let me tell you about e-posters. There are over 400 of them available on the platform, on the mobile app, and also at the exhibition right behind me. You can reach out digitally to the presenter and chat with him or her. Tomorrow, we will be here live at 10 a.m. with another show of the ATTD TV. Enjoy the opening ceremony with Professor Stefano and the rest of the evening. Stay tuned. Goodbye. See you tomorrow.